Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, welcome back to today's Daf Yomi, BECHOROS Daf Nun Vav. We begin at the Mishnah on Nun Hey Base, 4 lines from the bottom. It says the Mishnah, Haloi Keach, one purchases an animal, or according to the Bach, Halakuach, an animal which had been purchased. So you bought the goat, the sheep, or it was gifted to you. Pater, all these are exempt from Mimasar Behema, which is where you take the 10 goats or 10 sheep, put them in the pen, and have them walk out of the gate one at a time. And as you get to number 10, you slap down with that red mark on the 10th one, designating them as Masar Behema. But that is limited only to animals that were born in farm, homegrown animals. But if you purchase an animal from the outside, that is pater from Masar Behema. How do we know? It says the Gemara, where's the source to exempt imported materials from Masar Behema? Amar Rav Kahana Damakroya Pasuk. Pasuk reads, Bechor bonecha titen li. So the firstborn son you give to me, meaning you redeem him with a pidin haben process. Part 2 of the pasuk relates to animals as well, and we assume it's going on Masar Behema. Kein tasa, likewise, you should apply l'sharcha l'tzayncha. Heavy animals, light animals. We turn to the next Talmud. We have a linkage between these two mitzvahs. Ma bonecha, just like your sons were born in home, right? Ma bonecha ein b'lekoch matana, they're not purchased or gifted. Av tzoncha b'karcha, likewise, the mitzvah which applies to the second part of the pasuk, the animals, are limited to the homegrown sort. Einoi does not apply b'lekoch matana, something which was gotten from the outside. Ask the Gemara, hold it, we're not even talking about Masar Behema. The second part of the pasuk is speaking about a bechor, firstborn animal. V'hai b'bechor ksiv. So how does that relate to Masar Behema? Answer is Amakra. You see, the pasuk says tasa, right? Kain tasa. Likewise, you should do something which you generate. Well, the kedusha of a bechor you don't generate. You have nothing to do with it. It happens naturally as it's born. In which case, if it's not relevant to bechor, why? Because the lo'isi b'yasiyah, it's not something which you generate. They may rechem kaddish. It's kaddish as it's born out of the mother animal. So it's not relevant there. And the rule is, if we don't need it here, we apply it where it's needed. Now, inyan, we apply it as a halacha l'masar behema. Hence, we know that masar behema is limited to homegrown animals. Ask the Gemara, okay, so you know it's not a bechor, but what about other options? Who says masar behema? Maybe it's teaching the rules of chatos, of asham. Maybe they could only come from homegrown animals and not imported materials. Perhaps we can say, no, Indian apply it to l'chatos or l'asham. The answer is no, dumi de bincha. The fact is, both parts of the pasuk are correlating, meaning they're meant to be linked and similar. Dumi de bincha. So part B is meant to be similar to the pidin haben discussed in part A. Have similar features. Ma bincha she'enoi balche, just like bincha, pidin haben is unrelated to a sin; it's not coming to atone for a sin. Av tzoncha v'sharcha, likewise, the second part of the pasuk she'enoi balchet is speaking about a non-atonement type of offering. So that rules out chatas and asham. Okay, fine, that's out. We have other options other than your proposed masar behema. Ve'ema utneu inyan la'olah v'shlam. Perhaps it's coming to teach regarding the laws of an oilah, la'olah l'shlam, which are karbanis, but not for atonement. So, yeah, maybe those are limited to homegrown as opposed to imported, but not masar behema. Once again, dumi de bincha. It has to be comparable to the first part of the pasuk that relates to bincha. And therefore, ma bincha, just like by bincha, who's speaking about something which you don't donate, she'ena ba b'neder, something which you pledge or donate. Likewise, the second part of the pasuk relates to a non-pledging donation type of scenario. So that rules out oilah v'shlamim, which you donate, which you pledge. Okay, let's I have another candidate. The oil that you bring on account of arriving at the Beis Hamikdash on, Eila Regla on Yom Tiv, which is not for kapara. It's not neder or nadava. It's something which you're obligated to bring. Perhaps that's what the pasuk is alluding to. Once again, it doesn't really match up with bincha. Don't be the bincha. Ma bincha she'ini kavod le'izman. Because what defines bincha? Pidyon haben is not something which is a time-related mitzvah. As soon as the child is born, he's kaddish. Now, although the obligation, the chiyuv of pidyon haben only begins after 30, the truth is the Mepharshim explained that the kedusha begins right away. It's just that you don't do the pidyon until 30 and it's established as a viable child, but the kedusha happens right away. So, in concept, it's immediate. It's not time related, as opposed to oilas re'iyah, which is time related, right? It's limited to the shalish regala. Okay, so ma bincha shein kabul lo'izman af shorcha b'tzoncha. Likewise, part B of the pasuk relates to a matter which is not time pegged. Shein kabul lo'izman, that rules out oilas re'iyah. So we rule out oilas re'iyah. We cancel out oilav shlamim. We cancel out chatas v'asham. We cancel out bechor. Only candidate available is maser behema. Hence, we learn that lo kuach is exempt by maser behema. Ask the Gemara. Okay, fine. Ima bincha. If you're comparing maser behema to pidyon haben, let's compare it all the way. So, if so, just like by bincha, eina b'lekuach klal, the whole concept of purchase is not relevant to the bincha, right? At all, in any sense of the matter. So likewise, shorcha b'tzoncha, i.e., the obligation of maser behema, should not apply to any variation of a purchased animal. If so, I have a question. Alama Amar of Asi, he quotes Amar B'Yechanan, that there is a form of a purchased animal which is chayiv maser behema. Suppose lokach asara ubarim, he purchased 10 unborn animals, b'mei iman, still in the mother, and eventually they're born, and he wants to do the maser behema process on them. Kulab nichnasen l'dir, they all enter the pen, l's'aser, to undergo the process of maser behema. Hold it, they're purchased. Why are they chayiv? So although he purchased them prior to birth, but they're still purchased. They're not comparable to the bincha, which has no element of purchase at all. Amar Rava, Amar Kror, here's the pasuk that includes these as well. Because that very pasuk that we're dwelling on, which exempts l'kuach, uses the word tasa, right? Tasa. B'shas asiyah miyat hakasa. Torah is exempting a purchased animal that was purchased b'shas asiyah, in a moment in time when he had the potential to become maser behema, meaning he's a born animal. So in that stage, if he's already ro'i for maser behema, if he's purchased, that cancels that exempts him. As opposed to our case where it wasn't purchased post-birth, they were bought prior to their birth, in which case they weren't yet candidates for maser behema. They didn't relate to maser behema. So now when they were born anew, like a fresh new entity, and we disregard the fact that they were purchased earlier. So this purchase at this early stage does not interfere with their ability to eventually join up in the maser behema process. Let's go back and review this halacha and analyze it again. So he purchased the 10 unborn animals, still within their mother. Eventually when they're born, they will be processed in the maser behema process. Says the Gemara, what about our Mishnah, which exempts imported animals? Amar Balazar, listen to this. I had a wonderful dream last night. Guess who I saw? I saw Rabbi Yochanan, the author of this very halacha. And now I know, I'm confident that the message was, I'll be able to truly and properly understand and articulate and explain his halacha. Rabbi Yechanan, the great Rabbi Yechanan, Chazoi Bechilma, I saw in my dream, my Rabbi Yechanan. And now I'm confident I'll have the ability to elaborate on his words in a convincing manner. Milsa Ma'alya, I'll say something really nice and explain it, which is Amakra. The pasuk in exempting Lekuach uses the word Ta'as to teach us. It only interferes when you purchased it b'shas asiyah, when it was already at a stage that it can relate to Maser Behema Miyat HaKosav. That's exempted by the pasuk. Not so, in this case, what was purchased premature. Eisvei Reb Shimon al Yakim. He has a question, Rabbi Lazar. Mechus Zman is an animal which is not yet ready for Hakrava. The pasuk says it has to wait Shivas Yamim Tachasimai. Only from the 8th day onward he can bring it as a carbon. What if it was purchased prior to the 8th day? Mechus Zman was still short-timed, a day after birth. It is now labeled as a Lekuach and is now disqualified from Maser Behema. And this flies in the face of what we just said. It contradicts what we just said. That a purchase that occurred early in the game does not affect him later on. Amr Leis, says, well, in the Mishnah, it's not a reliable brisa. It can't be. If you're going to insist that it's a reliable brisa, well, it's expressing an individual opinion which is not the consensus. Reb Shimon ben Yehudi, he's quoting Reb Shimon Damar, who says that in fact, he's already a potential candidate for Maser Behema, even though he's not yet 8 days old and he can't be brought as a carbon. But he can be Makadashim as part of the Maser Behema process. You can designate him, although you'll have to wait until day 8 for Akrava. The Amar says, Mechus Zman, even a short-timed, a premature situation, Nichnas Odilis Aser, he can be entered into the, can taken into the pen and undergo Maser Behema, and even if he turns out to be number 10. In which case you'll have to wait until he's eligible for Akrava, but he can be Kaddish as Maser Behema. In which case, according to this opinion, he's already eligible for Maser Behema, and therefore if he's purchased at this point, that hampers his ability to become Maser Behema. That hampers and interferes and exempts him from Maser Behema. We treat him like a Bechor, where we find a similar phenomenon, because look, a Bechor is born before he's 8 days old, right? Right? So Ma Bechor Kaddish is managed, just like a Bechor becomes Kaddish even before he's eligible for Akrava. Although Bechor, for the actual Akrava, you have to wait until he's 8 days old, until the time comes. Likewise, any newborn animal, prior to 8 days, Kaddish Lefnei Zman, Bechor Lachazman, it can have the Kedusha, even though you have to wait for the Akrava until later. Okay, so bottom line, what type of behemoths are chayiv Maser Behema? Only those that are born in-house, as opposed to imported from the outside, like Lekuach, who gotten as a matana. But as Rabbi Yechanan points out, that only interferes if the transfer occurred after he's already an eligible candidate for Maser Behema, as opposed to an ubar. Regarding Mechus Zman, between birth and 8 days old, well, that depends on the opinions. Tani Tanuk made the Rav. So there was a Chacham that presented a brisa to Rav. The brisa reads as follows. Ezeu esnan. Could you give me an example of an esnan? Esnan is a gift that one gives to an immoral woman for her services. So if it's an animal or whatever, it's now going to be disqualified from being offered as a carbon. It's one of the psulim, esnan. Give me an example of an esnan that actually will be an eligible candidate for Maser Behema. Ezeu esnan shnichnas l'dilis aser. Taken into the pen for Maser Behema. As follows. Kol shenesanei lo. So the fellow gave her the goat. V'chazav l'kachim, and he took it back. Okay, so he took it back. As Rashi explains, he has another 9 goats in the pen. That allows him to complete the minyan, and he starts the Maser Behema process, and he counts 1, 2, 3. Now, Rashi points out that since it's an esnan, it's not really roiv akrava. So if he turns out to be number 9, okay, so number 10 is a proper Maser Behema. Suitable for akrava, but if it turns out that the esnan chances at number 10 then although he's Kaddish, but you can't bring him as a korban. You have to wait until he gets a blemish and the owner eats him. So says Rashi. Okay. Now, we have a more basic question here. If Saleh b'leikeach or b'lekuach, fact is, if he bought it back from the woman, he purchased it. Purchased. Apart from Masa Behema, what are we talking? Says the Moshe Tamid say, he was unmindful of the following halacha. Third time we have it today. Hadam Rav Asi, Rav Yechanan, that a purchase early in the process doesn't affect his prospects later on. Lokach hasori baran meiman kulam nechnasen delis asi. He buys fetuses. It's okay, but it's not yet an eligible candidate for masabeh. So eventually, when they're born, they can join the process. And as Rashi points out in the bottom line, that's exactly what occurred here. He didn't give the woman a full animal, he gave her an ubar as a gift. So when he got it back and later on it was born, it's chayv v'maser b'hem. Return to base. Now, why get involved in a fellow buying back and a whole complicated situation? You could have illustrated the very same halacha on her end. So she got this as a gift, and she has other animals to join up with it for a minyan. She'll be chayv v'maser b'hem. Why get involved in a two-way transfer? Let her do the master on her behemoths. We're speaking that she's not Jewish. Bezoina, she was an immoral woman who was a nachras, non-Jewish woman. So it's not relevant to her. She's not doing maser behemoths. So it's only applicable if he takes it back, and that's the question. Says the Gemara. Okay, but again, why are we complicating things? Well, like bezoina Israelis. Why don't we just relate simply to a more simplified case that she was a zoina Israelis, Jewish woman, with Asra'i, and the question again pertains to her whether she can do the maser behem on her animals, including this one. Why get so complicated? Says the Gemara, he was trying to teach us 2 points in one. So he wrapped 2 halachas in one story. Hakamashmon, he was teaching us as follows. Number 1, the Zoina Yisraelis, they have an esna. That a Jewish woman who has strayed, who is a Zoina, the gift that she receives does not have a status of esna. Esnan status is limited to a gift to a non-Jewish woman in this type of context. Not by Israelis. We'll see in a minute the source for that. Kudabai, as Abai teaches us, Abai, Zoina Nachrus is not an Asr. An Esnan to a Goyish woman is Asr, meaning it's disqualified from Hakrav and the Beis HaMikdash. Number 2, the Kohen that gets involved with this woman, even though the kids from this union are disqualified, but he will not get struck, he will not get malchus on account of violating the prohibition against spoiling his kids, like Chalazare. And we'll see in a minute, you know why, because it's not really his kids. The kids from the non-Jewish woman are tagged as Goyim. So he's not disqualifying his kids, they're not his kids anymore. On the other end of the equation, we have like this. Zoina Yisraelis, Esnan a mutter. An Esnan to an immoral Jewish woman is mutter, because Esnan is limited to a Goyish Zoina. But on the flip side, if a Kohen gets involved with her, he gets hit because of that pasuk. Because here we have Jewish kids that should be his kids, proper Kohanim, but since they were produced from this type of scenario, they are now muchulal, disqualified Kohanim, so he gets hit on that. Now for the sources. Zoina Nachris is Sana Asr. Only the Esnan to a Goy is considered Asr. Gomar Ta'eva, because it has the word Ta'eva, abomination, by the Esnan. And we have the word Ta'eva, abomination, by immoral activities. And he learns through a connection, from the Arayas, getting involved with relatives who are totally off balance, meaning they're not even eligible for Kiddushin with this man. Ma Arayas, just like by Arayas, Kiddushin does not take effect. You can't be Mekadesh a relative. Av Zoina, likewise, the Esnan Zoina is limited to a type of situation where it's a woman, where Kiddushin cannot theoretically take effect, meaning a Geisha woman. Here we know that Esnan is limited to a Geisha Zayin. On the other hand, the Kohen gets involved with non-Jewish Zayin. There's no Loichal Zareh. You know why? Loichal Zareh, Marachman warns against spoiling his kids. But unfortunately, these kids are not even his. Rashi explains. You know why? Brings the Gemara Yavamis. Offspring from a non-Jewish woman are not Jewish. In which case, technically, he did not do Chilal Zareh. Because they're not Kayhanim that were spoiled, they're just not even Yidden. So it's a little bit ironic because you have, on the one hand, we say that the Esnan given to a Yisraelis is okay for Akrava, does not get affected, but by a Goy it does. So you say a Goy is worse. Right? There's a greater effect on the status of that gift. On the other hand, we say, in terms of the penalizing the Kayan, his involvement with a Goy is less severe in a sense. There's no Chilul Zareh as opposed to involvement with a Yid, where there's Zareh, he's being Mechal, there's Malchus. Okay, so having learned that Eilo Kuach is part of Hamasa Behema, here comes an interesting Mishnah. So we have two brothers inheriting their father's estate. Okay, father had animals, he had all kinds of things. Passes away. Reuben and Shimon, two sons, divide his assets. We have animals in the mix. So it really depends. If they're still tapping into the father's estate, it's like the father's still here, so to speak. It's all on his name still, right? So even though technically they're inheritors and each one accesses half, but technically they haven't yet divided it. They haven't yet assumed. It hasn't yet been named after them, so to speak. It's still the father's estate. In which case, it's not a shutfus, it's not a partnership, as we're going to see in the Gemara. Just like when you buy an animal, it's pater from Masa Behema. Likewise, if you partner with somebody, shutfin, a pater Masa Behema. So, if they're still tapping into the father's estate, they haven't yet divided, they haven't yet partnered, so now it's their father, so to speak, on their father's name, and there's no shutfus here, and it's chayv Masa Behema. But suppose they allocated the assets. They divided amongst themselves. So now, first of all, these animals are considered imported. They're considered like purchased from each other because they're sort of negotiating with each other. You get this, I get that, right? So it's like sort of an exchange and a transaction taking place. So the animals are not considered like purchased. And likewise, should they decide to join together once again in a partnership, that's a classic shutfus. That's part of Masa Behema as well. So it really depends. All depends at what stage they're holding. Pre-division, it's still considered, it relates to the father's estate, in which case it's chayv Masa Behema. But once it's divided, and certainly once they divide and reconnect and rejoin, that's part of Masa Behema. It's purchased, it's a shutfus. Then we have something called a kolboin. A kolboin is the add-on, the service fee. When the Yidden used to give the machzah shekel, so the fee was the half the shekel, but then they added a service fee, a little extra add-on. Various explanations for this added fee. It's like a service fee to pay for the expenses of the hegdish, who need to go and take all the coins and convert them into larger bills, and then in the bank. So with every machzah shekel came along a kolboin. But let's say you only owed a full shekel, meaning it wasn't a half a shekel. You owed a full shekel, so you just give the full one. That's it. Kolboin is only when you have a half. So the hegdish has to go take all the halves and convert it. But if you actually owing a full shekel, such as a father paying on account of his two sons, there's no kolban. There's another explanation given that when you do it on behalf of a friend, you get a discount, you don't have to give the kolban. Whatever the point is, the kolban requirement, again, depends on which stage, at which stage we're holding. If they're still drawing from the father's estate, there's no kolban. Once they divide the monies, each to his own, and there's a kolban. For Reuven, a kolban for Shimon. Now let's see the Mishnah. Says the Mishnah, Achin hashutafim. So you have brothers who split up the assets, and then shutafim, they reconnected, rejoined in a partnership. So what's their status vis-a-vis kolban, vis-a-vis maaser behema? If it's at a point shechayavim b'kolban, if they've already divided the assets, so now to each his own, even if they came back together as shutfas, the fact is each fellow is obligated in his own machzah shekel, each one's paying out his own expense, and you have to add the service fee. But at the same time, P'turin, maaser behema, exempted from maaser behema because of shutfas. Anything generated in a partnership situation is part of a maaser behema, as we're going to see in the Gemara. On the other side of the equation, we have Fishechayav maaser behema. But suppose they are in a situation where they're chayav maaser behema, such as it wasn't yet allocated, they haven't yet divided the assets. It's still as is in their father's estate, as per the father's passing. I mean, there was no actual division that took place. So there's no shutfas, there's no purchase, and they're chayav maaser behema, just as when the father was alive. Chayav maaser behema, patur min kolban. In this case, they get a kolban discount because it's as though the father is paying on behalf of the kids. So when you pay a full shekel at a time, there's no kolban. The Mishnah explains further. What do we mean when we say they can be chayav maaser behema and patur from kolban? Kanu mitfisas habayis. If they're accessing the assets, it's called tfisas habayis, while it's still in the father's estate, so to speak, they haven't yet divided, they haven't yet allocated, then we don't deem it a partnership. Chayav and they're chayav maaser behema, but otherwise, they've already divided, so it's to each his own. Turn the patur of maaser behema, as we explained, because it's as though they purchased it from each other, they negotiated, they switched and exchanged and transacted, and they're patur of maaser behema because it's like a lekuach. Continues the Mishnah. Suppose they allocated the assets, they divided amongst themselves, and then they decide, better together than separate. Okay? They came back together. So now they're really partners. Like any other partners. Chayavim b'kolban. Upturin maaser behema. The chayiv in kolban because to each his own. Each one's paying out his own obligation, and the patur of maaser behema because whatever they have is any newborn behemoths was produced by this partnership, which is patur from maaser behema. Okay, so a fairly simple equation. Within a Yerusha process, we go through several stages, so to speak. We have the tfisas habayis, which is pre-allocation. It's still considered the father's estate and relates to him, even though he's not around anymore. It's pretty much the only time in Shas we find a concept which is very close to a corporation concept. It's not personally owned by anybody. It's not titled after Reuven or Shimon. It's sort of this abstract, non-personal jurisdiction called Tfisas Habayis. And then we have post-allocation, in which case to each his own. Now, if they decide to partner together, it's like any other partnership. Okay, so partnership is exempt. Why? Yelecha. Pasuk says, any animals born to you, personally, is opposed to a partnership. Okay, so perhaps this even applies to what they access from their father's estate, pre-allocation. Yiyah comes to add even that type of situation. We don't deem it a real shutvis at this point because it hasn't yet been divided, hasn't yet been personalized, and therefore it's chayiv in Maser Behema. Says the more b'hai b'b'char ksiv. So, right? So the Tfisas Habayis is not considered like a partnership, and therefore it's chayiv despite having some elements of partnership, but it wasn't yet allocated, it wasn't yet, so it's chayiv. For ask the Gemara, v'hai b'b'char ksiv, this pasuk that you're quoting is not Maser Behema, it's by b'char. How does that relate to Maser Behema? I mean, in b'char, it's not needed for b'char, because over there even a partnership is chayiv. The isay b'shutfis, the pasuk speaks about that. B'char is b'kar chem, even plural, owned by two people, is chayiv. So if it's not relevant there, we'll apply it where we need it. No, in the Maser Behema to exempt the shutfis by Maser Behema. Omar Rabbi Yirmiyah. Okay, if you want a nice, organized presentation of this sugya, covering all variations, all scenarios, here comes Rabbi Yirmiyah, who is known to be very detailed and complex in his presentations. Rabbi Yirmiyah, I'll give you a sort of a printout, a chart. Some situations are obliged in Maser Behema and Kolboin. Sometimes you chayiv in both. Upamim, at times, in a brother partnership situation, sometimes they're exempt from both obligations, Maser Behema and Kolboin. Pa'amim, sometimes a chayiv in one, shachavim b'kolboin, a chayiv to pay the kolboin, but they're upturin from Maser Behema. Sometimes exactly the opposite. Pa'amim shachavim Maser Behema, upturin not kolboin. Here goes. Number one, chayiv b'zeh. A situation where these inheritors are chayiv on both accounts, Maser Behema and kolboin. Here goes. Shecholka b'ksafim b'cholka b'behema. They divided the monies. The father left behind monies and animals. They decided to divide the monies. So now, in terms of monetary payments, such as machzas hashekel, i.e. kolboin, to each his own. So chayiv. But v'lecholka b'behema, they didn't split the animals. The animals still relate to the father. So it's not yet purchased, it's not yet divided, it's not yet partnered. It's chayiv Maser Behema. So check. Case number 2. P'turim mizeh. Example of a case where they're patur on both accounts. Shecholka b'behema v'lecholka b'ksafim. Imagine they split the animals. So now the animals are patur because lakuach, it's whatever it is, right? But v'lecholka b'ksafim, the monies were not divided. So divided the behemoths. It's lakuach, they partnered again, it's a shutfis, but the ksaf was still in the account, as it was. Okay, so now it's like the father paying on behalf of the kid. There's no kolboin. Case number 3, chayav b'kolboin. Here's a case where the chayav to do the kolboin, but they're exempt from the Maser Behema. Shecholku b'zeh b'zeh. We're speaking that the kids split up both assets, animals and monies. And now they rejoined as a partnership. So now, kolboin they're chayiv because each one is paying out for himself. But the part of Maser Behema like any other shutfis. And case number 4, chayav b'Maser Behema, p'tur min kolboin. When they chayiv in Maser Behema but exempt from kolboin, shlo yicholku b'zeh b'zeh. They didn't divide anything. So the animal is still in the estate. That's not considered a shutfus. It's a single entity. It's chayiv Maser Behema. Machzas shekel, it's like the father donating on behalf of the kids, which exempts him from the kolboin. Okay, so now we have 4 variations of this halacha, pretty much, repeating the same principles with different, applications. So again, let's review it. Case number 1, they're chayiv on both. Case number 2, they're patur on both. Chayiv and korban, patur masa behema, and exactly the opposite. One of the chayiv in both, split the monies, and not the animals. So the monies they each pay out on their own. The animals, they're still like their fathers, and they're chayiv masa behema. There's no partnership, there's no purchasing, right? You have patur on both accounts. Where they split the behemoths but not the monies. So they split the behemoths. It makes them patur there. Because the animals that they split, that divided is like purchased, and the ones that come later is a shutfus, speaking that they rejoin together, right? But the monies they left as is, so it's like the father paying for them. It's patur from one korban. Case number 3, the chayiv and korban patur masa behema, speaking that they split everything, and then they repartnered. So korban they're chayiv. Each one pays off his own chiyuv. Masa behema shutfus patur. You have the chayiv and masa behema patur from korban, speaking that they left everything as is, still in the estate. So it's like the father paying the masa shekel patur from korban, and there's a chiyuv masa behema. Okay. But when we split the behemoths, and then came back together, achan ashut, they're now partners. So there's a patur, because look, the animals that they actually divided, those are considered like purchased animals, and the animals that come about later was produced by a partnership. Says the Gemara, what's the point of repeating all these variations? I mean, pshita, obviously, we're just going over the same points repeatedly. There is one point of chiddush, says the Gemara. The case where chalka b'behema will chalka b'ksaf. Right? In the second case, we'll patur from both. What was the case? They split the animals, not the monies. Which is, it's really, that's something they had to teach us, a chiddush, to say that they're patur on both. Because I would think, once you see they started dividing, they split the animals, they're on their way to split everything. Why should I ignore that point? Why should I consider money still in the estate as though the father is donating on behalf of both kids? No, perhaps we should view it as though it's all split already, and each one's paying out his own machzah shekel with a korban. Sagla, that when perhaps there's room to think, even the chalka, once they started the process, split the animals, galu datayu, they have expressed their willingness, revealed their intentions. They're intending on splitting everything. The money too, in which case we should consider as though it's their private monies, and it should be chayiv and korban, like they're just paying off their own debts. Kamash, one, the point is no. Money's still in the account. Consider the father, so to speak, and they're patur from korban. Amravana. This halacha that brothers who inherit animals and then divide them, and then rejoin together in partnership, we exempt them from masa behema completely. And again, as Rashi explains, there are 2 steps here. The initial animals that were divided, it's like lakuach. It's like they're buying it off each other, because it's not even split. They negotiated this type of arrangement. You took this, I took that, right, in exchange. So it's like a purchase. And the animals that come later, born off this flock, is considered produced by a shutfus. Okay, so when do we apply this point? That's only true ella shecholku. Gedayim keneged yashim. Or tiyashim keneged gedayim. They made an uneven division. Rather than each brother walking with five goats, no. He took goats keneged yashim. in exchange for the older goats that the other fellow took, and vice versa. Tiyashim, he took Tiyashim in exchange for the Gedolim that this brother took. So in this case, we view it as a settlement, a negotiated settlement. Because truthfully, each brother is entitled to exactly half of each element in the Yerusha. So why is he walking away with just goats and he's walking away with Tiyashim? They agreed to make that exchange. Look, I took your part in the G'dayim, you took my part in the Tiyashim. Great. So now it's like they purchased it from each other. And that exempts these animals from Masa Be'ema. Likewise, when they come back together, decide to join together in a partnership, it's a new shutfus. Aval, but let's say it was an even split. The father left behind 10 goats, he took 5, he took 5. You know how we treat this? We look at it like each brother walked away with what was due to him. The part that was really meant for him from day one. There's no negotiated settlement here. This was meant for you, this was meant for you. It's still classified as Yerusha. You didn't buy it. And if they decide to join back together, it's like they restored the father's estate. There's no partnership, and they're chayiv masa behem. Aval cholku, gedoyim keneged gedoyim, with Yashim keneged Tiyashim. But let's say he took 5 goats, gedoyim he took 5 goats, with Tiyashim he took 5 Tiyashim, older goats, keneged Tiyashim, in exchange for the Tiyashim that the other fellow took. They made an even split along all types of animals. In this case, we can just say there was no purchase here, there was no exchange. And even if they come back together later, this is his portion, which he's deserving. From day one, it was initially meant for him. So even if they come back together in a partnership, it's like reverting to the father's estate. And fascinating. No. He says, even split. Ein berera. No, we don't say it's been revealed now, this was meant for you, bashkachar prat is meant for you. No, whatever they take, whether even or uneven, whether we view it as an exchange or not, it has a din like a purchase, because inevitably every single Yerush has an equal portion, every part of it. So whatever I take is partially yours, and I'm exchanging it for my part that's in yours. Even if one brother took 5 goats, corresponding to his brother's 5 goats, and Utiyashim connected Tiyashim, we don't say Zehu Chalkai Hamagia. We don't say, well, this was meant for you from the get-go. It's like they negotiated the settlement, it's like they bought it off each other, it's a lakicha, and that's pater, and then when they join together, it's a new partnership, and it's pater as well. Okay, so according to Rav Anan, we say yesh breira. It's an even split. We say this was meant for you. According to Rachman, we don't say that. And likewise, Rabbi Lezer went with Rav Anan's approach, the yesh breira, and Rechon disagrees. He says it's always considered a transaction and a purchase. Rabbi Lezer Amar Shanu. When do we apply this halacha? Do we treat them like purchasers and partners? Ela shachalku tisha keneged asora. Asora keneged tisha. If the numbers aren't even, he took 9. Exchange for his brother's 10 smaller animals. Vasara Knegatisha, he took 10 small animals. Knegatisha opposite the 9 big ones that his brother took. Basically, they made an evaluation and a settlement. So in that case, we say it's a purchase, it's a transaction. Aval Cholku Tisha Knegatisha. But let's say it's 9 versus 9, 10 versus 10, and even split. We just say, look, you got what meant for you from your father, and you got what's meant for you. It's inheritance. We say Rabbi Yochanan says no. We don't say breira on all accounts. Even if it looks like an even, fair split, 9 to 9, 10 to 10. And we don't say, oh, it's now been discovered that this was yours from day one. No, rather we say it's been purchased, it's a lakuach, it's pater from Masaveh. We turn to the next one. And this isn't the first time that we have learned this in the name of Rabbi Yochanan. That inheritors, that Yerushim, who split the states, are considered like purchasers. Rabbi Yochanan follows his own view, discussed earlier. We had this a couple of days ago regarding returning the purchased property, come Yavel, right? You give it back to your seller. Question: 2 brothers inheriting the father's property. Who split that property? What happens come Yavel? They just keep it like a Yerusha. Yerusha doesn't go back in Yovel. Or do we say they bought it from each other? They have to go and redo the division. Give it back to each other. The second option is correct. Two brothers have divided a property. Look, who I saying we treat them like buyers. We have to give it back in Yovel. Which is exactly what he says by us today. We can never know what was yours. We consider like a purchase, like a transaction, exchange, negotiation, which is considered like a purchase. But tzrichi, what's the point of mentioning the same halacha twice? Once over here by the Maser Behema, and once over there by the Yovel, tzrichi. Each one is important and necessary. Why? The Iyashmin and Hacha. If only our halacha that it exempts them from Maser Behema. Yeah, B'hakam Rabbi Yochanan. Perhaps it's only here Rabbi Yochanan says that's exempt. Do me the bincha, because Maser Behema has to follow the same route as the Pidin Haben, unpurchased, right? Ma bincha bar l'cha. Just like the Chiyav of Pidin Haben only applies to a bona fide son, right? Without any doubt, your son, right? There's no need to clarify, to investigate. Likewise, the Maser Behema, which applies to the animals, only applies to an animal born in your possession with clarity, confirmed yours, not something which has to be, verified, negotiated. So that's what we say: a divided inheritance is part, because prior to you getting it, it wasn't clearly yours. Your brother had a stake in it as well. You had to go and divvy it and allocate it. Avol sada. But when it comes to purchasing a field and returning it by Yovel, Mecher, Hudam Rachon Lahad Yovel, Torah specifies a purchased field goes back on at Yovel, but not a Yerusha, inheritance, or Matan, or a gift. Of course not. So perhaps a Yerusha, even though technically it's been negotiated and exchanged and transacted, but it's not considered a purchase. Oh, comes Rebbe and says no, we classify it as a Mecher, and it returns to the at Yovel. Yeshmin Asada. L'chum, on the other hand, if we only discuss the case of Yovel by the Sada, so I would say, okay, over there we're going L'chumra, because really maybe the whole thing is not clear. Is it really a purchase? Or perhaps it's just a confirmation in terms of what was really meant for you, and it wasn't really exchanged. So, but, we go L'chumra, we're machmer, we say we never know. Perhaps as an element of a purchase, give it back in Yovel. But not to use this rationale to exempt you. I mean, that's going out on a limb, right? On the other hand, you can say l'chatchila, another point, that by Yovel, the point is give it back the way it was, put it back, revert it to its earliest status. Right? Rashi says, Torah wants you to put it back to its original state. And originally it was by the owner, or the seller, or in our case, originally it was in the father's estate, meaning both portions of the field was sort of one entity, so return it back to that state, and then go back and take half. But over here, by Maser Behema, you can't apply these concepts. First of all, you're exempting, using this svara, considering like a purchase, to exempt. Who says you can do that? And the second point certainly doesn't apply. So perhaps Rabbi Yochanan would not hold this position and consider them like purchasers and exempt them from Maser Behema. And that's why he mentions this halacha in both cases, whether relative to returning the Yerusha by Yovel, or whether we're speaking about Torah Maser Behema, we treat them as purchasers. Meisvei comes a kash. We have an opinion which has yesh breira. As long as it's an even split, we can just view it as each brother taking what's meant for him, what was initially intended for him, rather than consider an exchange and a purchase. Meis becomes a kash. So this actually raised another type of material which is disqualified from akrava. It's called a mechir kelev. Okay, so you have a sheep which was sold, which was used as payment. It was exchanged with for a dog. Okay, so since it was used as payment for a dog, is disqualified from hakrava use. Okay, so let's say you have two partners splitting up their assets. And there's a dog there. Lots of sheep, and there's also a dog. We have partners that divided their assets. One walked away with 10 sheep. He eats sheep, he doesn't eat dogs. There was a dog there, a sheep dog, right? The other fellow decided, okay, I like the dog. 9 and a dog. So he walked away with 10 sheep, he walked away with 9 sheep and a dog. So now, there's room to think. Which one paid for the dog? Which sheep was used as payment for the dog? Which one is the mechir kelev? Says the Brisa, shekeneged akel asur. All the 10 that Reuben walked away with, shekeneged akel, opposite the dog, the other side of the dog, are us. Shimon akel mutar, but the 9 that accompany the dog to Shimon's home are mutar. The question is why? Are all 10 affected? Only one of those sheep, technically, was deemed payment for the dog. If you can say Breda, just designate it now. Liver chadmina, take a look at one of the, point to one of the sheep and designate that as payment for the dog, and qualify the rest. Liver chadmina l'vadakelef, take one of the, single out one of the sheep, l'vadakelef, and deem that as opposite to the exchange payment for the dog. V'lishkoil, and set it aside, disqualified. V'anach lishton, the rest on the other side of the equation should be mutter. Amar Vashi, you're right. If they're all of equal value, yeah, it would work. We're speaking that they're not all of equal value. A dog is worth more than a single sheep. He's worth the value of a sheep plus a little bit more. And this added value affects them all. It sort of spreads throughout all 10. Rashi brings a gersa from his Rebbe, Vamoyer Goris. He says like this, he puts numbers to it. He says, so he says like this. We have Reuben who walked away with 10 sheep. They're all worth each one's worth $4. Palgi chumsha, half of a fifth. Basically, $4.10. Okay, and a tenth. Fine. How much is dog worth? The dog is worth $5. So you can't point at any single sheep and say he was used as payment for the dog, because the value of the dog exceeds the value of any single sheep. If so, all 10 are really contributing to the payment of the dog. Again, Reuben had walked away with 10 sheep, Shimon with 9 and a dog. Now, Shimon's sheep are worth $4 a piece. The dog is 5, a total of $41. It was a 41 division. Reuben walked away with 10 sheep, each one $4.10, for a total of $41, right? Now you can't point to any single sheep in Reuben's possession that was used in exchange, because none of them match up to the value of the dog, which exceeds every single one of them. So you could say, okay, this poor sheep is the one that was used to pay for the dog, but he's not enough. It's not worth enough. He's only worth $4.10. The dog is worth $5. It's not added 90 cents. It gets sort of distributed throughout the whole pack. Each one is contributing 10 cents for the payment of the dog. So he taints them all. They're all affected, all considered Mishcher Kelev. And that's why they're all puzzled. But you're right, let's say it was an equal split. And they're all of equal value. The dog's worth $4 and the sheep on the other side worth. So you can take one sheep and say, look, I designate this as payment for the dog. And only that becomes Mechir Kel and the rest is mutter if you hold the Eish Be'er. Which allows you to verify retroactively. Okay, we spoke about The parameters of Maser Behemoth only applies to animals born in-house, as opposed to Lekuach, or gotten the Matana. It's learned through the Hekesh to Bechor Adam. We went through several options, and until we confirmed that it was Maser Behemoth, the pasuk was referring to. Rabbi Yechon had a chiddush that purchasing a Uber does not disqualify him from Maser Behemoth. We discussed the parameters of the Esnan Zoyna. We discussed the interesting situation where the brothers divided and repartnered. Spoke about various stages through the Yerusha process. Tfisas Habayis has one status, considered like the father's estate. We have, once it's divided, it's their private stuff. Then once they reconnect, it's a new shutfis. But it really depends how they divide it. According to some shittas, yesh beiros, divided equally, smoothly, cleanly down the middle. You can just say yesh beiros was meant for you, it's meant for you. So you don't really purchase it, and then when you come back together, just revert into the father's estate, rather than be considered partners. But if it was an uneven division, and certainly according to the shita which says ein breira, then any division is considered like a purchase, and subsequently when they come back together, it's like a shutfas, which is pater from Maser Behemoth. Okay, all the best to you and Hatzlacha Rabbah.